Right now, conservatives want to defund Obamacare, but is it worth shutting down the government in order to do that? And next, the race for City Hall. Joe Lhota leads the pack in the Republican primary, but can he take it all the way home? And later, the many, many sides of Chris Christie. Is the New Jersey governor socially liberal or conservative? Might be surprised on where he's standing on a host of controversial issues. Good evening and welcome to RFL. I'm Andrew Whitman, in tonight for Richard French. Thanks so much for joining us on this Tuesday evening, August the 20th. We begin with the latest Republican attack on Obamacare, which Republicans may need since they seem to be shooting themselves on the foot on an issue that could actually be a winner for them. Allow me to explain. Earlier this month, we were hearing a growing push for Republicans to demand the defunding of Obamacare. And to do that, the plan was to use two items as leverage: either shut down the government next month or refuse to extend the debt limit unless Congress passes and the president agrees to defund Obama's signature program. But as of last week, we thought that whole mission was a dud. Even Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell took a pass, saying, quote, "A government shutdown won't stop Obamacare." And McConnell's not alone. Senators Tom Coburn and Bob Corker are on the record opposing a shutdown threat. So is conservative columnist and Fox News contributor Charles Krauthammer, among others. But that was last week, and with members of Congress on recess and in district this month, many Republicans have been getting serious blowback from the right, described in some places as a conservative revolt against the GOP's attempt to calm Obamacare shutdown mania. Leading that effort, two very powerful and well-financed Tea Party groups, Freedom Works and the Heritage Foundation. And their goal from these Republican groups has been to pressure Republicans to support that shutdown threat by saying any effort not to shut down the government or default on the debt is the same as supporting Obamacare. Like this from Red State and Fox News contributor Eric Erickson, quote, "Republican leaders will fund Obamacare, they will cave, they will have lied to you about their opposition, and in reality they will be conceding they give up the fight." If you're a Republican lawmaker, it's the kind of push you might be worried about and might see your career going up in smoke. Take this ad from the PAC looking to boot out Mitch McConnell. They are comparing the Senate Minority Leader on this issue to a chicken for that quote that we showed you earlier, even though McConnell opposes the health care law.
Take Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell. On the issue of Obamacare, he says,
"This law is a disaster, and I want you to know we're not backing down from this fight."
But when he has the chance to defund Obamacare, some say he is chickening out. Senator McConnell, conservatives don't need a chicken when it comes to Obamacare.
And the push appears to be working in places. Texas Congressman Michael Burgess, among others, saying he's seeing a lot of anger on the subject that's ready to erupt and that support for the shutdown is virtually unanimous. It's not unanimous, though, far from it. Among the 17 states setting up health exchanges that's part of Obamacare, 3 are states with Republican governors. What about Medicaid expansion? That's happening in 7 states with GOP governors, including New Jersey, and that's not even considering Obamacare already making health insurance more affordable, including in New York, where rates, it was announced, will drop more than 50% because of the health insurance exchanges created by the health care reform law. All right, let's bring on tonight's panel to talk about this. We are joined tonight by Dominic Carter, political journalist and author. Also with us tonight, two guys who could use a little Obamacare. They're steaming over that intro.
Oh, my God,
Republican
please.
strategist and co-founder of the New York Meeting, and Richard St. Paul, Republican strategist, former vice chair for the National Black Republican Association. Obi, have at it.
Is there a garbage can so I can get sick here and go see my doctor? I mean, Dominic,
we can get you some insurance.
did you help him write this? Because I hope
No,
not.
I had nothing to do with this.
Obviously. I mean, this is ridiculous. You left out Jimmy Hoffa. The unions wrote a letter saying it's got to be fixed as well. What we have here is a broken system. It was broken before. What they did to try to fix it didn't work either. There's 50 states, last I checked. Okay, you mentioned New York, and there's maybe a handful of others. And if I count on one hand, there's fingers left over about the states that may have lower health care after
Those are
this.
the ones that have announced.
That's correct, and they announced it because it was good PR. So let's look at this reality. The bottom line is the unions are saying in their letter, Jimmy Hoffa, who is against Obamacare now and says it's got to be fixed, says employers are now trying to keep people below 30 hours in a work week, trying to keep the number of employees hired below 50 in total employees. I talked to an accountant yesterday in upstate New York. His clients are all trying to figure out, how do I work around this? People that work now, that were working 40 hours, that had good jobs and get overtime and get 50 and 60 hours possibly, that may have not had health care, now have to get 2 or 3 jobs just to make ends meet.
So you want to shut down the government or blow up the debt limit?
Well, let's back up a second.
Well, no, because that's the threat that's on the table from Republicans right now.
But that is a negotiation tactic.
That's right.
I don't believe shutting down the government is the most probable solution in all of this. But at the same time, you have to sit here and say, what are we going to do to fix this? So you, Democrats, come forward and say, what will you do? Will you give us a fix on any of these things that we can make sure Obamacare doesn't take out the economic growth that we're about to experience?
And if they say no, you're going to take out the economic growth by shutting down the government or exploding the debt limit?
Well, first off, when you shut down the government, what happens is it's a PR fight, and whoever wins the PR fight is really what happens. Shutting down the government is not a terrible thing. It's an ugly spin. That's the argument that happens. I mean, when they close the national parks and kids are on vacation.
And they stop Social Security checks.
But there are certain things they still can do, and they can pass certain spending entitlements, continuing resolutions to let certain things go. So there's a lot of smoke and mirrors going on here, a lot of PR. Yes, when the government was closed down before, it was awful, and the Republicans looked bad doing that. Who knows what happens here?
1995, was that under the Clinton administration?
Yes, but that was also
but that
a
was
Republican Congress.
Newt Gingrich admits they did it wrong. The other thing on Obamacare is we have to be for something. We can't just be against it.
I agree. It's definitely a negotiating point. We're not going to see the government shut down at this point in time, but it's definitely a negotiating point. We have to do something here to control spending. Obamacare is costing an exorbitant amount of money. The business community is not for it, rightfully so, because as Obi correctly pointed out, it just doesn't make any business sense. And if we're looking to come out of this economy, this downturn in the economy anytime soon, we need to seriously talk about reforming Obamacare.
But gentlemen, maybe I've been missing for two or 3 years. Didn't we already have this debate? Isn't it already the law? Didn't the Supreme Court already rule on this? Isn't it a foregone conclusion? What are we really talking about? Why are we scaring
people? It may be legally as a tax, but it doesn't make it right, and it doesn't make it any less expensive or any better for the economy.
And you also have an opportunity then in Congress to pass a law to change various aspects of it. Just because something was passed as a law, viewed constitutional, it doesn't take a constitutional amendment to change it. It takes an act of Congress to change it.
How many laws?
Therefore,
how
you can
many
change
bills have passed the House tweaking, changing Obamacare? We know that it's been voted to repeal about 40 times.
Right. And how many times?
Where's the effort to work across the aisle?
What about the effort in the Senate to try to change anything either? They're not proposing changes right now either that I'm aware of.
It's still the law of the land.
But why doesn't the Senate stand up and say we have to help the economy and fix something here? The other reason that the Republicans are fighting against this too a little bit is 1/3 of the Senate hasn't faced their re-elections right now. So Pryor in Arkansas, Landrieu in Louisiana, Hagan in North Carolina, and you've got the Dakotas going on too. I mean, there's going to be issues there, and they're going to have to answer what's going to happen here.
Even the Obama administration has decided to delay the business tax part of the Obamacare, recognizing that there are issues. So, I mean, come on, gentlemen, there are issues with Obamacare. Can we agree on that?
There are certainly concerns that need to be addressed, and there have been from day one. But Republicans are saying they voted to repeal it 40 times. They're talking about shutting down the government or blowing up the debt limit, which the last time, even before we got to the debt limit, just the talk of it helped lower the credit rating. I mean, it's like bowling with a grenade.
But also, I believe that was also the Treasury acting inappropriately in the rule of the deficit. You're talking about the increase of the debt ceiling at that point, really, too.
Well, yeah, but that led to the downgrade of our credit rating.
But one of the challenges was when you don't raise the debt ceiling, you don't stop paying everything. You still have dollars coming in. There's still tax proceeds coming into this government. You decide what you're going to pay and prioritize. You pay the debt. You pay Social Security. You pay the pensions. You pay a lot of the employees. And you also furlough some others. So government can still continue with money coming in.
But when does this, and I guess this is a statement, it's not a question, when does this stop? Does this continue until...
We are borrowing...
Wait, hold on. Wait. I understand the days of austerity, and that's a Republican talking point. We got to cut.
It's an American talking point.
We get all of that. But when does this stop? Does it only stop when you get your way? Do you keep trying to legislate?
What we're working
when does
for
this
is
stop?
a better America One that doesn't borrow 40 cents on every dollar.
Okay,
that's the challenge, and how do we get to that point where we then borrow
But
30 cents and 20
Obamacare is the
cents?
law of the land. The Supreme Court is ruling.
It was
And
passed.
at one
The Supreme
time,
Court is
Kelsey
ruling.
versus Ferguson was the law of the land, but that does not make it right.
But-
I mean,
Is that the
Okay.
comparison
Dred
we're
Scott,
making?
yeah, I
Is
mean,
that-
you know,
is that the
But that was a
comparison?
law passed by Democrats. Republicans still have a right to fight it. Republicans have a right to pass legislation.
Okay, so
and the
Republicans have
Senate,
a right to fight it by scaring grandma and shutting down government. That's what Republicans have a right
Well,
to do.
that's a Democratic talking point.
No, it's not
No,
a
that's
talking
what
point.
they're saying. They're saying we're going to shut down the government.
Republicans don't scare grandma. The Democrats scare grandma with their demagoguery. They go out and say all these crazy things.
grandson, and great-great-grandson, because that's where we're faced right now. Our kids are now indebted. Now, we have to control spending to get this economy back on track.
We're having a conversation about who's scaring grandma more. We are going to take
Look at the Obamacare commercial they tried to roll out up in upstate New York. New York 26th. We lost that race because of that. We fought it down here in New York, but we lost it up there when they rolled grandma off the ledge. That's their scare tactics. Didn't mean to cut you off, but I did. I guess.
That's okay. We're going to stop scaring grandma. Grandma's out there. Stay with us here on RFL. Up next, Dominic's got a one-on-one interview with Joe Lhota. Joe Lhota says the judge's ruling on stop and frisk takes New York one step closer to becoming Detroit. Do you agree? We're going to hear from the GOP frontrunner on that and much more right after this break. The race for City Hall is next on RFL.